speaking of chanting in favor of terrorist organizations, we saw out of, I think it was Vancouver. Yes, it was in Vancouver.
Ooh.
Excuse me. The Samidoun folks saying, I am Hezbollah, I am Hamas. Those are two outlawed terrorist organizations. Okay, have it your way. You should be outlawed too then. And so Poilievre called for terror groups like Samidoun to be banned. So let's hear from him on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Poilievre, for this important press conference. And actually, we know that Canada is a place for all, not for terrorists and terrorism. What we have seen in the last few years, that some weird demonstrations, I call it chaos, that include people who insult Canada and wish death to our beautiful country. And the most painful thing is to burn my flag, my Canadian flag. This is so painful for all of the Canadians. The people who do this are covering their faces. We don't know their identity. And this is also a big problem because as a journalist and media, Canadian media from Middle East roots, we receive some threats. My question is, why the police and the authorities do not take actions against this? Because it is not one time, two times, it is repeated over a long time, and there is some violence, there is some threat for many people, and we do not used to have Canada like this. If you, in your position, you are the opposition leader, what you can do to return Canada now, and if you are the Prime Minister, God willing, what you can do to make our culture is quiet and safe again.
Thank you very much for that question, and I'm so sorry that you have faced these threats. This is another example of our country devolving into chaos. Everything is broken. When we have patriotic journalists facing threats of violence from terrorist sympathizers who now operate with impunity after 9 years of Trudeau and the NDP and their radical, divisive, dangerous ideologies. The police need to enforce existing laws and arrest anyone who's making these threats against journalists. We need to lock up violent offenders and keep them behind their bars with jail and not bail, with mandatory jail time for serious violent offenses. We need to ban the terrorist organizations that have been fomenting this hate and these attacks, Samidoun, Houthis, and others. Samidoun was on our streets 2 or 3 days ago, celebrating the genocide, the biggest attack on Jews since the Holocaust, burning our flags, organizing hatred, and making overt calls for violence against our people. Samidoun, the Houthis, and their organizers should be arrested. They should be put behind bars. We should secure our borders to keep terrorists and those who work with them out of our country and keep our country safe again. And we need a prime minister who will unite our people and bind up the wounds of the nation by bringing home the country that we knew and still love.
Brilliant. And as I understand it, Sheila, not only is Samidoun not banned in Canada, not recognized as a terror entity, but because of their not-for-profit status, they actually get tax breaks. I mean, this is insane. And when you were chanting death to Canada and incinerating the maple leaf, as they did at the Vancouver Public Library on Monday, the anniversary of that, the massacre. I have to be honest, Sheila, I question the validity of multiculturalism. The whole idea of multiculturalism was come into our nation, take advantage of our social programs, get jobs, get housing, here's the unspoken deal. You're going to obey the law. You're going to be a good citizen. You're not going to import the rubbish that you're running away from across the pond. But when you see that, look at that, the Canadian flag torn in half as a prelude to setting it on fire. Please, somebody convince me that the Liberals' version of state-sanctioned multiculturalism is a good idea.
Well, this comes from the whole idea of cultural relativism, that all cultures are created equal and there isn't a best one. But if you live in the West, you should obviously think that the West is the best. Otherwise, why are you here? And that patriotic, as Pierre Poilievre called him, journalist, is absolutely right. He's doing his best to be a proud Canadian, and he's being attacked for it. And that's the ramifications of all of this. I'm seeing this at the Foreign Interference Commission. We are hearing from Jenny Kwan and other members of the Chinese community, the Chinese dissident community. And I say this because Jenny Kwan is an NDP MP. And they're saying, because the Liberals refuse to deal with this stuff, we're being, our loyalty to Canada is now being questioned out in the street. And I think the same thing is sort of happening, or at least that's the pendulum swing back that might happen because of the Liberals' ineffectiveness on the terror marches in our street, that it sort of swings back towards the freedom-loving Muslim community who get lumped in with the crazy people because the Liberals won't deal with the crazies.
But Sheila, I agree with what you're saying, but the equivalency here when it comes to the two dueling demonstrators, I mean, I listened to, prior to Monday, Toronto Police Service Chief Myron Demkew, who I believe, honestly, is the worst police chief in this city's history. And given that Bill Blair used to be the chief, that's saying something, let me tell you, folks. But when he says, we're going to dispatch mobile police stations to certain synagogues, certain areas of the Jewish community, and because they always, and this is my question to you, Sheila, when it comes to police services and the political class, why is there always, and we're going to ramp up our monitoring of the Islamic neighborhoods. We're going to have mobile police stations at certain mosques. I don't see, for the past year, Jews and their allies going into Muslim areas, going to mosques, and trying to start a fight. It's always 100% the other way. Sure. So why do we, every time we condemn anti-Semitism, when I say we, I mean the police and the politicians, why do they have to lump in Islamophobia? Yeah, well, seeing this at committee right now, what happened the other day, I think we'll get to it later, the anti-Islamophobia DEI minister, as I call her, just getting raked across the coals by Jamil Javani for basically not doing anything about the actual rise of hate. Like they call everything that falls out of line with the liberal policy some sort of far right hate, and yet people who are aligned with the Nazis are marching in the streets and protesting on the lawns of Canada's synagogues. They're at the synagogue. They say it's about Israel. Then what the hell are you doing at a Toronto synagogue? Yeah. So I would say to Chief Demkew, all those resources going to Islamic neighborhoods and mosques, that was a fool's errand. You should have deployed those resources where they're actually needed, at synagogues and Jewish neighborhoods. But what do I know? And, of course, we're in a realm when you ask impolite questions, even of the IRGC, as I discovered in January, the likes of Fraulein Freeland will have you arrested for crimes against the state. So that's where we are. What a sad state of affairs.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. Members get instant access to all of our shows, invitations to exclusive events, and access to our premium content like live event footage and documentaries you won't see anywhere else. Only Rebel News Plus members can join the conversation by participating in the comments section of our new website. That way you can have your say too. More than anything, though, you'll be able to take pride in supporting real, honest journalism, and you'll help our talented team continue to do the work to push back on the establishment. We really can use your help. We need it, in fact. So thank you, and enjoy Rebel News Plus.